Hi, Jessica Motaung here. I welcome Smash Sport to my home. Welcome to the Kaizer Chiefs Village. I come from a family that is about excellence. It's about delivery. Doors closed for me sometimes because of who I was. You know, there was a time I didn't even want to work at Chiefs. Many players who, when they drive through these gates, realize that this is a serious space.
Well then, here we are, Naturena, Kaizer Chiefs Village. It's taken us 8 months to get here, but we got it. The lady of the house hosted us for an entire afternoon behind the boot with Super Geno featuring Jessica Motaung. You're not gonna wanna miss this one. Jess, as I was saying, it's been an 8 months pursuit. Thank you for your time, and I think the timing is perfect. There's a lot been happening from whether it's a Kaizer Chiefs point of view, whether it's your own personal achievements as well. So maybe, in hindsight, the wait was strategic.
I think it was worth it, you know. I think the timing is perfect. And like you say, a lot has happened. And it's nice to have this conversation when I am now relaxed and we have time to actually have a good conversation.
Yeah. I want to dispel some myths. I studied at Wits University, and while I was there, I heard that you were a pageant queen at Wits. You went to Wits?
Yeah, I went to Wits.
Were you a pageant queen?
Not at Wits.
Not at
Wits, but... I started, I did a pageant at high school in Krugersdorp, actually.
It didn't go further.
And then I later on did modeling and decided that I wanted to do something beyond just the modeling space, and then entered the Miss Gauteng. Got the Miss Gauteng pageant,
yes.
And then went on to the Miss South Africa. And
yes.
So the rumors, then was fortunate to do Miss World, you know. Yes, so yeah, the rumors are true.
The rumors are true. Anyway, but what's interesting is that, did you know at that time that it would spark some type of leadership ability in you to do more than what you were studying at Witwatersrand University? To get to this point now, where did it all begin? And I think, you know, with the background that you have, with the chairman and all that he's done for South African football, what he's achieved personally as a football player, you were would you say you were also kind of steered in that direction as well, or you had your other ambitions and somehow found this as a calling for yourself and for the family as well?
I think life is interesting, you know, it unfolds for you. Leadership abilities, something I've had even at high school. I was a prefect, so I've just always been somebody who's been a leader in certain spaces. But certainly, did I know that my life was mapped out this way? No. You know, yes, one might have had ambitions for certain things, but I can say the journey's unfolded in an amazing way. In some ways, they say God dreams a bigger dream for you, you know, and as it's unfolded, some things were by design, some things were not. You know, there was a time I didn't even want to work at Chiefs, you know. I was an entrepreneur for 15 years. Yes. I built a business in the entertainment space, was very independent. I have always had an independent streak. And wanted to do my own thing, which was really great. And that came out of being at the Miss South Africa. I loved the production space, and I decided that it was actually at the Miss South Africa that the idea of building Jake Productions came about. Yeah. And that worked for many years, and it did work even in the football space, but certainly very much in the entertainment arena. And then the opportunity to work at Chiefs. But I grew up around football. I grew up around great leaders of football, obviously with my dad, the chairman, but certainly around some of the greatest players and just around the game. And there were times where I had a really wonderful relationship with Chiefs, but also didn't have a great relationship with Chiefs. As a youngster, your dad is not around. He's working very hard building this business, building this brand. So didn't get to see him. But then again, exposed to the game, you know, going to the stadium as a young girl and experiencing that was absolutely amazing. So the journey has unfolded. Some things, like I said, were by design and some things just happened. And when I when the chairman came to me and said he wanted me to be part of Kaizer Chiefs, I looked at it and I looked at the opportunity, and at the time felt now, given where I've been with my career and my business, I can contribute to the family business and to the brand.
What's that conversation like when you say presented the opportunity to work at Chiefs? It's a conversation with Jessica Motaung coming and pitching the idea to you, or there's an application some way you say, yeah, I want to put my head forward, yeah.
No, I think as a family, we've always engaged on the business, and it was a discussion as the business was changing and evolving to say that there are a lot of changes, there are things that need to be taken to the next level, and given the work that I'm doing, would I be interested? And then I looked at it and I thought, yeah, this is something that I certainly could do, and looking at the changes in personnel that were going to take place. And also, Chiefs at the time had a brand department but didn't have a marketing department. So for me to pioneer something new in the space as well was encouraging.
And just how long that trajectory then to, because you now not just the head of the marketing space at Kaizer Chiefs, but you're a board member as well, a director, so many hats. Does it call for patience? How long does it take, give or take, to get to that level? And did you constantly at some point feel like you have to prove yourself that, this is not nepotism. I didn't get this because my dad is the chairman and founder of the club. I've earned my stripes. As you said, you had a business acumen coming into these roles as well.
Well, I started at Chiefs 2003. I remember it was after working on a big project when South African business was being united by Patrice. My company actually did the project for bringing about Busa and Chamza. So it was during that time that some of those discussions happened. And it was 2003. And then it took a few years before I became a director. I was the marketing manager. And in 2007, I became a director on the board.
How would you describe the change at Kaizer Chiefs over the years? And I say that because in as much as you see the brand is still powerful, make no mistake. And I think, I was having a look at some of the stats. The Nielsen's report will show you that from a marketing standpoint and media engagement, Chiefs top of the pile. But you've seen eras come and go. How would you define that span over the years since you've taken over?
Well, before I go to that, I want to answer that question of business acumen and coming in and working hard. I come from a family that is about excellence. It's about delivery. Any opportunity we get involved in is about doing our best. So it wasn't about you have this opportunity just because, I think the chairman saw the work that I was doing in my business and saw that I could bring in something different into the game and into the organization. So it's important, I think, in life to always, when an opportunity comes, not judge it on how you've got it, but also on what you can bring to the table. So that was important for me. I was not going to leave what I was doing if it wasn't going to take me to the next level and allow me to do something significant.
And I think, sorry to cut you there, Jess, but I think a lot of people maybe sometimes are not aware of that, because, and I say that because a lot of, and it's not just a South African phenomenon, worldwide. If I start a business, I want my family, my kids to take over, but they have to have earned their stripes. And I think sometimes it's important to highlight that people are not aware of the groundwork that the foundation that you've been laying prior to that, I suppose.
And also people aren't aware of how many businesses, even some of the big businesses in the world, are family businesses and have gone through several generations, And it makes sense. Even with me, if I had a business, I would want my family to be part of it because also your family live and breathe it with you, and have and put in a lot of work, and to be able to be given the chance to work in the business is a privilege, but also at the same time an opportunity to build for the next generation. And for me, one of the things that I've learned in life, and whether people talk about whether you get it because of nepotism or you get it because you're a woman, for me, I've always said, and every time I talk to women, men, is excellence must be your draw card.
100%.
Excellence must speak for you. If you do your work well, it doesn't matter whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're disadvantaged, people will notice. And that's one thing I learned, because people were unfair. In certain instances, even in the pageant space, doors closed for me sometimes because of who I was. You know, some doors opened, yes, baby, because of who I was. But certainly some people closed doors thinking, oh, no, you have it easy. And it taught me to really work hard and do my best at everything that I do. And also to enjoy what I do. Because, you know, if you are traveling a long journey in something, you must enjoy it as well. So that's my message to anyone, whether you're part of a family business or getting into a new job. Do the best that you can. Because at the end of the day, that will speak for you.
Now, the changing, that part about the changing landscapes, I don't know if that's the right word, but over the different spells, you know, not just, you know, from different kids to different coaches to different, it's changed over the years to the village looking the way it looks now. Saying to Lebu as well, like when we were first coming to the village, security started at the gate. Now it starts down there. You know,
Yes.
you know, the space was only just this part. Now there's on the other side as well. There's reserve league. There's, you know, so many things have changed. I know it's obviously it's incorporated with the football department as well, but also your department, especially as a board member as well. You've seen things. You've seen a lot of change.
Certainly, it's been an amazing journey. For me, I've seen the village when I was a youngster in high school, and I used to come here and my mom was doing breakfast for the players, and we used to be serving players breakfast, and it was 2 farmhouses. And the main farmhouse was that one, and we used to do breakfast for the players. I've seen the village develop into really one of the best spaces for a football team to function in, and been part of the development. You look at this lounge here today. I remember when I came back from Tottenham, I had been visiting some of the teams in the UK, and I went to see Donna at Tottenham, and I saw some of their facilities. They had lounges, they had all sorts of stuff, and we were building the high performance center. And I said to the chairman, he said, downstairs we're going to have storage. I said, no, the space is so big. Can we do something else? And I proposed the lounge, and it was initially going to be a player's lounge. And the way that I decorated it, he said, no, this is not looking like a player's lounge. It's looking more like a corporate lounge. But again, it created a different space of doing business. But obviously, the main thing was to make sure we have the fields. But it's been an incredible journey to see the brand evolve, to see the business evolve. And like you say, from the different coaches to the different sponsors, to being part of, like you say, the different kits, to see the commercial business, the licensing program develop, to see the work with the branches develop. As much as we've had a big fan base across the country, to just see even our branches develop in terms of how they function, how they mobilize, and to see the league also growing as the club grows. I've been privileged to be at such a great time in South African football and in the space at Kaizer Chiefs. It's been amazing.
And how have you, I guess it's also about striking the balance, and it goes back to what I said earlier about the different departments, and obviously some of it falls underneath your brother, sporting director, Kaizer Motaung Jr. as well. Finding the balance between the results on the pitch and Kaizer Chiefs still being, it's crazy. I think, and you'll correct me because you have the numbers. I don't know, Kappa must be pinching themselves because the shirt sales, it's ridiculous. You don't hear that too often, that in a South African context especially, that the shirt sales skyrocket that much, you know, especially when you've moved from, maybe one would say like a popular brand like Nike to Kappa. I know it's also got some traditional links with Kaizer Chiefs in the past as well, but just striking that balance. I'm sure it's putting heads together to say, how are we still appealing to a kit sponsor? How are we appealing to our sponsors who want to renew another term? Vodacom wants to renew, or whoever wants to renew for another 5 years, but on the pitch, because they have to interlink somehow. But take us into your confidence in terms of putting those proposals together and having those tough conversations when the team, and and it's relative, right? Because some will say, but we see the positives here and there. We see the Nedbank Cup recently after, what, a 10-year dry spell. But fans also want the league. They want to have the bragging rights to say, no, we ended the Sundowns dominance, for instance, and we were the one to take a domestic title as well.
Look, I think we're fortunate. We have a great brand. We have great heritage and great history. And we've had sustained success for many, many years. I would say for 45 years, Chiefs had really major success. And that has laid a very great foundation. In terms of our sponsorships, we've been very deliberate about our relationships. One of the things that's wonderful is Chiefs have had long-term relationships. Nike was about 21 years. Vodacom is 25. You're looking at Nissan, I think, was 18, if I'm not wrong. So we've been very consistent in terms of building long-term relationships with our partners. You talk about Kappa. I've just come back from Italy and very proudly sitting as a brand, being able to show how we in South Africa and hopefully internationally have really turned the Kappa brand around. We've made Kappa sexy again. You normally think that a sponsorship would be a new sponsorship would really be at its height at the beginning. The numbers this year in the third year of our relationship are even higher than when we signed the sponsorship. I know that our supporters are loving how we've pushed Kappa in terms of design, in terms of product offering.
It's very unique to Kaizer Chiefs. It's not, you don't go into the shop and say, but they copied the Wydad Casablanca jersey. It's very unique to Amakhosi.
We're very deliberate around being involved in every part of the design of product with them. And what's wonderful, what makes us also successful is our supporters. At the end of the day, our supporters are very loyal. And that also builds that relationship with the sponsors as well, because whether the team is doing well or not doing well, there is a real connection with our supporters. And any business goes through challenges. And I think for us, any organization has to go through that. And I am thankful that we did, actually, because it's been a defining period for us to also recalibrate and do things differently and take ourselves to the next level and introspect to say, where does the future, what does the future look like for us? Because brands do go through this. Might not be part of something we've experienced, but you've seen it with Sundowns. They've had challenges. Pirates as a brand have had challenges. And it was just our turn. But to be able to turn it around was absolutely amazing. And to be able to re-strategize how we're doing the football, I must say the football department's done very well in making key changes now. Nedbank Cup is testament to the fact that we are back in our winning ways, and you can see the team's performance currently, regardless of some of the initial changes we've had to make now in this season. The team is playing great football. We've got great players, and there's cohesion in terms of where we're going now, and that's important. But one of the things that's unique to us as Chiefs is our supporters support the team for life. It's really Amakhosi for life. There's a true commitment to the brand, a true commitment to what Chiefs is. Sometimes it's not even tangible. I mean, I meet people and I am part of Chiefs, but they are so committed to the brand. It is heartwarming. And one of the things as a marketer I've done is to make sure that I'm on the ground. There was a time people are like, you're a director, you don't need to be everywhere. How do you deal with a product? How do you deal with something if you're not on the ground, if you don't understand what supporters want? And that's something that's unique to us, is we go to our supporters.
There's this idea that if you're a director, you should be...
Stay in the boardroom.
Don't, I mean, even Chinchaguluva, he would be on the ground as well. You'd see him coming, shaking hands,
Even the Iwat Nenes, one of our big marketers in the history of Chiefs, was in the pulse with the people. And that's one thing that's been unique about us. And you'll see it. Our guys in the supporters team travel, work with the branches. We understand what they want. We understand their passion and their commitment to the brand. And I think that's also what makes it work. It's not, we just don't do road shows for the sake of it, And I see other clubs are connecting with their supporters. It's important. We are in their homes every weekend, and we want to be part of the communities. You'll see some exciting community outreach programs and community things that allow us to live in the community consistently. That's one of the things that's important to me. You know, how do we make sure we maintain our connections in the community consistently? So sometimes when I'm sitting with some of the directors, I'm saying the decisions you're making are not aligned with what the community wants. And I think I've been able to be that voice.
Yeah. Voice of reason.
You know, to say this, yes, it's a business decision you're making, but if you make it this way, it's going to add a lot more value and have long-term consistency for our supporters. And I think that's also something I brought to the boardroom as a woman, is to say I've come with a very different intuitive approach, with a different view of the business. And that's, I think, has been able to add value.
How difficult is it to sit in that boardroom, and I know you've explained obviously how you built yourself up to where you are, but still, he's still your father. To sit in that boardroom and say, no, I don't agree.
Very challenging, very, very challenging. I think now a lot easier, but in the beginning it was even more difficult, you know. Also because it's a very, when I came in, it was very male-dominated sport, you know.
Still is.
And I came in with also very fresh ideas, a very fresh approach, and I've learned different ways to engage now. You know, some things you can present in a very subtle way. I've learned that things don't have to be confrontational in certain instances.
That's key.
That's very important. People think sometimes you got to fight your way into things. No,
be aggressive.
And
be
also,
loud.
Yes, be loud in the room. Compete on the male front. No, I've learned to lean into my femininity as well, while at the same time to collaborate. You know, I also may see something that other people don't see, so I need to walk with people and share the idea, give it time to resonate, and then there are times to be bold and strong and to be clear that this is a direction we need to take. This is in our interest. Timing is important. You know, I look at the chairman. You say I've lived through a lot. He's lived through technological changes, governmental changes.
Seen it all.
He's seen it all, you know. But I think what's great is if you have leaders who also embrace that. He's also embraced change. He's also brought people in who can make a difference, and he listens. That's the other thing. I've also learned that from him, is to listen. Because I may have a view, and as young people sometimes we think this is how it must be done, but to listen and to hear other people's perspective, then you're able to sell your idea because you understand their thinking. But if you say it's my way and that's it, then you lose out. You might have a great idea, but if it's not accepted, you're not able to execute on it. So it's been a number of things, in nuances that one needs to look at, you know. But certainly collaboration has been the success of Chiefs. You know, many people don't realize how many people are employed at Chiefs. It's a big institution. We have a lot of people working here. Do we need more people? Yes. As things change and evolve, I think we need more people. We need more skills. But at the same time, we have a lot of people working here. So it's been great to see how the chairman has integrated not just the family, but other people who have great skills and a lot to contribute.
Let's go back to that discussion about the sponsors as well, vis-a-vis success on the pitch. In your opinion, why do some leave? Why do some stay? Do some leave because as Chiefs you've come to a decision to say, well, you know, it's the end of an era? Or do you ever get an email from a sponsor saying, you got rid of the coach, we also out? No, you lost that cup, we also out. How does it work, that engagement for sustainability and longevity as well?
We have very deep relationships with our sponsors, you know, and they're not fickle and just focused on what's happening on the pitch. There's much deeper understanding of each other's businesses. They also know we understand our business, just like we respect that they understand their businesses, and they trust us, and they trust the decisions we make. We obviously share with them that we will be releasing a coach or whatever else. But you look at where we are with the relationship. It also is a business decision. And we look at whether sponsors would come to us and say that their strategy has changed. And if that strategic change has an impact on us, we then have to look at how that is going to work. Can we deliver to that strategic change? Because at the end of the day, there's ROI that we need to look at. So a lot goes into those changes. Like I said, it's fortunate that we've had long-term relationships. So those conversations are also a lot easier because we have a deeper understanding of each other. We understand what we both want to achieve. And if we can't reach that together, then we've parted ways amicably.
Do you genuinely get that from sponsors who have deep regret to say, we made a mistake, maybe the relationship should have continued, let's reassess and relook into another partnership one way or the other?
Yes, there are some sponsors who've come back or who are revisiting it or looking at it now to say, strategically at that time we made a different change. Can we look at it? And there are some sponsors sometimes we think maybe there is an opportunity to rekindle the relationship with. But at the same time, it just depends. You know, it depends on the timing. But I must say thank you to all the sponsors who've invested in Chiefs, who've understood the value that Chiefs brings. And for us, it's not just exposure. One of the things that we've been able to do and demonstrate is the business return that we've been able to give to sponsors. You look at the work we do with KC Mobile, for example. It's a Vodacom product that actually has given Vodacom major return commercially. In some cases, one could say it's even paid for the sponsorship because they're generating money from the subscribers who are part of that. You look at our sponsors in terms of the kit sponsors. Our shirt sales do very, very well. So the return there is tangible to the sponsors. And so that's something we're deliberate about. Because a lot of the time, in some cases, it's just the exposure numbers that people look at. But sponsors are able to say they can see the bottom line with Kaizer Chiefs. And maybe when they do the assessments, those are the things they see. But a lot of them, even if they don't come back, are grateful that they've had the connection with the brand.
How much of this information does sort of trickle down to the players? Are the players being, I'm sure maybe based on social media, those who are technologically savvy can see, you know, the numbers and that kind of stuff. But how much of it does it go down to them to say, well, you also have a mandate as a Kaizer Chiefs employee to not only be ambassadors through how you live your lives, but ambassadors on the pitch as well. I'm just curious to know if that conversation happens and at what level, in what sort of setting are the players made aware? Because, you know, when they give interviews, they always talk about how heavy the Chiefs jersey is, and it gives you the impression that, well, at one level or the other, they probably sat down with the chairman or with yourself, with Kaizer Jr., with Bobby, to give them an idea of just how massive the Amakhosi, structure and club is.
Look, I think when you drive through these gates, you start to see it. There are many players who, when they drive through these gates, realize that this is a serious space, you know, and they have a big responsibility. And they see it at the stadium. Supporters are vocal. They see it when they don't perform. Supporters speak out. When they do perform, the love and the support that they have, even when it's challenging, the support that they have from supporters shows them that this is a serious undertaking. But we're very deliberate in sitting down with players. There's an induction process that happens here at Chiefs where we sit down and talk to our players about the importance of the role they play. Because at the end of the day, yes, the sponsors invest in the entire club, but they also invest in players being the ambassadors for their products and for the club. We also pay players huge image rights fees to make sure that we can leverage those in the interests of sponsors. So we have a process where we sit with our players, speak to them about who our sponsors are, what the commitments are required. We have an induction on what kind of appearances, what's expected for them for appearances, and what they need to deliver. We educate them on media training and make sure that they're media savvy and able to conduct interviews with people like yourselves on behalf not just of the club, but also of the league, you know, and make sure that they're able to represent us in the best way possible. And we take that very, very seriously. And we sit and engage. We have a session with them where they can ask questions. We have a session coming up, actually, where we are engaging with them on digital, because the digital space has become
changing now.
It's changing so much, but it's also putting a lot of pressure on players. While it has an opportunity for them to commercialize and for us to commercialize, it's a space that's also
Can make or break them, essentially.
emotionally, it's very difficult. You know, people just are sometimes, I think, very irresponsible in terms of how they post about players and comment about players. So we've got to give them those skills at a personal level as well as a professional level, and they need to understand they're a part of the commercial team. As much as they are performing on the ground, they're part of the commercial team and have to deliver. So they have to be available for appearances. They have to be professional. They need to be able to express themselves. And we give them those tools. So we don't just say, this is Kaizer Chiefs, you've got to do this. We work with them to make sure that they understand that. We also make them understand the numbers and the exposure that we give to themselves, to their brands. You can see a player, we monitor a player. When the player comes into Chiefs, what were their handles, what was their exposure, and we're able
Some jump
when you
from
leave,
2,000 followers to 100,000 followers as soon as the contract is signed
so
and unveiled.
when you leave, we have built your brand. We're not only building our brand and the brand of sponsors, but we build player brands so that when they leave here, they're able to really, as businesses, their own businesses, leverage what being part of the Chiefs ecosystem means.
I'm gonna switch focus now to a lot of the other hats that you wear with the African Football Clubs Association as well. There's a recent appointment in the stakeholders committee as well. We need 3 hours, Jess. We need 3 hours. But before I do that, I would love for you to unpack the image rights thing, because it's quite I wouldn't say taboo, but it's an unknown topic in South African football. We kind of only get it from a perspective of agents who, when they discuss it, it's almost like they've got an agenda, because they are obviously, understandably so, they are protecting their clients, but there's another element to it, you know. But I'd like for you to just, you know, explain it to us, because as we do this interview, there are no strings attached. It's a conversation about marketing, branding, and image rights as it pertains to players who've signed for Kaizer Chiefs and have seen, and they're leveraging off that brand as well. You know, it's not like, you know, they come in here, some of them come in here without any of those endorsements, and as soon as they become regulars and their, you know, profiles soar, they take it to, they use it to their advantage.
Sometimes immediately when they sign, brands are talking to them. Look, it's a complex space, and it's one that's evolving and growing. It's one that even SARS is looking at, because it's a revenue driver for brands as well as players themselves. And really what it is that we take the image of a player, which is his likeness, his nicknames, all of that, and we pay them a fee also to be able to use it as a brand and be able to derive commercial return, you know. And what that means is that obviously then the player has to be available for either appearances, activities, or we can use their photographs and all of that. And that's not just for ourselves, it's also to protect the league, to protect our sponsors. And that's why sometimes it gets contentious with agents. And it's got to be, how does the ecosystem work together? Because also what happens is ambush marketing is very prevalent in the space, where we are paying a player for his image rights, and we're not paying small fees for image rights, first and foremost. And so we need to maximize the return for our sponsors with those images of the players, and also for the players themselves to be able to receive those image rights fees, right? And we also have to get those image rights also to protect ourselves, because otherwise, like I said, ambush marketing is there. Someone comes in, you're with Chiefs, automatically when you're a Chiefs player, your numbers are going to go up, your exposure level goes up.
You can't put a disclaimer saying,
this is my personal,
you know.
So we and also I think it's also sitting down with players individually and saying, this is your profile, this is who you are, also helping them. I mean, we've had deals with players, I'll give you an example, even with an E2, for example, who had a big image. And we had built that image with each, and we said, okay, fine, how do we work together to make sure you generate revenue over and above what we're generating? We also generate revenue. And it's a one-on-one understanding you as a brand, and also saying maybe these are the brands you should be speaking to, we should be collectively speaking to that fit your profile, you know? And that's what we're doing with our players, is profiling them and saying also this cluster of players can allow us to attract this kind of sponsor.
And you're open to them bringing
Definitely
things on board to say, I think this is a good fit. Can you allow me to?
It's important. And then we're able to say, how do we structure it? Is it just, and also help players, because a lot of players have gone and signed contracts, and they come back and I was like, these guys aren't even paying you anything. No, they're just giving me a few boots and some kit. And I'm saying, but no, you can't. We had one player who signed a deal with a technical partner for boots, but one of the contract points said, you will wear no other brand ever, even on pitch. I said, how do you agree to that? That means you can't wear the kit to play and perform, you know? So again, it's teaching our players to
but yet they signed him because he's a Chiefs player. Yeah.
But he didn't read the fine print. So I said, if they say you're in breach, it means you can't even play the football and wear the kit. So it's sitting with our players and saying, so they are required to share some of those contracts with us to look at, see there is no conflict. And it's an education process. We have a session coming up now because we've got a lot of young players also coming out of development who are now excited and wanting to do things.
And the DDC is on TV now as well. They probably even have bigger profiles even before they make it to the first team. Yeah.
And then you find people going to them early and they're excited. And it's about sitting down and saying, these are our players, and it's a part of the department that I'm now starting to staff up a lot more because there's a need for people to monitor. There's a lot of ambush happening. One of our players got a coffee maker, and he's now starting to. It's like, for a coffee maker, you're getting 2 million rand in image rights. You're not getting 2 million rand in image rights, but you're giving someone who gave you a coffee maker you can buy, you know. And it's understanding that those freebies are not worth. Some are, infringing on sponsorships or not getting a better deal, you know. So it's a work in progress. But I think we're one of the few teams who are very consistent and deliberate around how we work through image rights. And then obviously image rights are taxed. You know, there's a whole tax process around it.
Lifestyle audit.
Yes, government is very much aware that it's a key component of the sporting space. And there have been engagements with SARS and those kind of entities to make sure.
Brands are signing players as influencers as well now.
Exactly. Yeah. So the commercialization of sport and the players has become very, very big. And we have to be very deliberate about how we deal with it and very much on point. Now,
African Football Clubs Association.
No.
African Clubs
Association.
ACA, yes. There's so many of these African this, African that. ACA. Before I go to that, do you make recommendations in appointing and hiring a coach?
I'm part of the business. Okay. You know, I think a lot of people think I'm only confined to the marketing space. I'm a director in this business. Yes. I have to know this business through and through, you know.
You don't hear my bare.
No, and also I've grown up in football. A lot of people may not think I know football, but certainly, you know, I think that I've been educated in the game. I've watched my brother play the game. I've had children, my own children play the game, you know. I'm passionate about football. So do I know football? Yes. I'm not a coach, you know, but I'm part of this business. I have to know about coaches, about what's happening. I've worked with some of the top coaches that have coached this club, and I'm aware of what's required with the coach. But certainly, am I part of the board and making sure that the board makes the right decision? But certainly, the football department and the other people who are responsible, sporting director and others, must do the groundwork, you know, in making sure that we have the right coaches, we get the right recommendations. But at the end of the day, as a board member, I would be irresponsible not to understand the requirements we as a club need and to be able to be part of making the right decisions for this club.
Yeah, you certainly can't be naive when you hold a position that's that high in the business.
Not at all. But certainly we rely on also the correct work being done at the football level to bring in the right recommendations for us to stamp and certify.
And how impressed have you been with Junior for stepping up? I remember him as a player. I'm revealing my age also, but I used to interview Junior play, and now he's the SD.
I'm very impressed. You know, it's not easy to make that transition, and it's taken time, and it's a process. You know, moving from playing to studying, he took some time out to study, interning within the organization, and then, you know, really now working full steam. It's been a process, but to see him evolve and to see him grow and to see him deal with some of the negativity that comes with taking on a role like that. And to see him mature, I love his energy and spirit and how he's handled it. And it's still early days. It's still going to be more challenging, you know. But that's part of the process. And some of us who've been there are giving the support and trying to make sure that we all work together collectively to achieve at the end of the day. But I'm very proud of the work he's doing. And the team he's got around him as well. And also the work that they're doing together with Bobby, you know, the collaboration that's happening there. And excited that he's bringing on people like the Kabelos who are bringing in an African continental
Good appointment,
feel.
that, by the way.
And again, working closely with the team manager, Gerald, who has also been part of the system.
Top player himself.
And then seeing the people we're bringing into the development side. So you'll see a lot of evolution and growth. And I think also coming in with, you know, he's coming in not just as a player who's played just in South Africa. He's got an understanding of the international game. And then also I think he's coming on with the pressure of having played as a Motaung and now working in the business. So he understands it. And I'm just proud of the work he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, if he's handling it like that, under pressure, with the trophy cabinet not what it used to be, I can't wait the day things turn and just to see his growth in that. Speaking of growth, I'm going to get to ACA, but I did say it right? ACA. But I want to get to the FIFA appointment first. I mean, you would have known longer than all of us, obviously, but for us, it came out of the blue, and we still kind of like trying to figure out what the role entails. If I remember correctly, it's men's stakeholder committee.
Yes.
What does that mean? You know, sometimes I feel like our federations, the titles are so long-winded, but like, can you break it down for us? Because it sounds like it's FIFA. You know, but can you break it down for us? What does the title entail? And it's interesting, they added the word men's stakeholders committee in there and appointing a woman in the role as well. So I find that very fascinating.
Well, first, let me clarify. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I got a call to say that the Secretary General and the President of FIFA and the Council had approved me to be part of the committee. And I didn't know that my name had been put forward. So I was quite surprised and obviously thankful that the opportunity was presented. And it is the Men's Football Stakeholder Committee. And it deals with men's football, and it deals with stakeholders such as UEFA, the Club World Cup, the ECA, federations, player associations. So it's all of FIFA stakeholders. So it's really, for me, a great opportunity to get really involved now in international football at the highest level. And to be the only woman on the committee.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Reading all the names, I am the only woman on the committee. And really honored to be given the opportunity to be part of it. I am yet to have my induction. I'll be traveling to Qatar where we'll be
Where
meeting
the
for...
under 17 World Cup is taking
Yes, we're
place.
going for the final for the Under-17s World Cup, and we'll be going to Qatar to aspire.
Yes.
And I was privileged. It's my second time now to Aspire. I was at my third. I was there for the opening of Aspire for the first time when 100 of us were invited, and I was privileged to be there with Pele and Maradona. So to go see also how Aspire has grown and what it's achieved is going to be quite exciting. But certainly the induction will happen there, and then we will be able to then start the work. But looking at the committee and the people who are there, I must say it's going to be a great gathering of people, and it's going to be nice to learn and also share what African football is doing and how African football is advanced. Because I think a lot of the time we only look at international football as Europe and what's happening in Europe and America and other places, but we as Africa have come a long way. You know, so much has evolved in African football, 100%. And to be able to show what we've done and maybe to share what they can adopt in the game is something I'm looking forward to.
I'm sure your induction hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure your brain is working overtime with some of the ideas that you're going to present. And I do wonder, do you think it also gives you an opportunity to, spread your wings in terms of maybe from a women's football at that level as well? Because you also involved at CAF in various platforms and sort of committees around particularly women's football as well. I'm sure you want to take it all the way to the world governing body as well.
No, certainly. I think first of all, what I appreciate is this role acknowledges my work in men's football, which I've been doing for many years, but certainly believe that whatever I'm going to do there, I can add value in the women's game as well. You know, the work I'm doing at CAF on the women's committee, I've just been appointed into the task force for women's football with Bestine, who's heading up the women's football at CAF. She's created a task team to really dig deep in terms of how we can change women's football. So I'm excited about that, and I'm hoping that space will also allow me to learn, but also share. Because also in that space, the teams in those leagues have women's teams, and things are going very well in that space. And then hopefully I can cascade it back into the soccer space as well. You know, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that committee as well.
ACAs, what strides have you made? I mean, I think you came in at a time where there was a shift within CAF around, preparation fees. You know, we've spoken at length about this at various press conferences as well. What else has changed in the time that you and Hesi have taken over and have been leading the charge, so to speak, in the intercontinental space, or just African football in general?
It's been a slow start. I have to be honest, it started very slowly because also it's a new baby and people weren't very sure. Great strides, and you just saw me now with Paulette, who is part of the office that we've established in Morocco. So to have a host country that's hosting us and having our offices in Morocco, same building where you have the CAF offices, the FIFA offices. So again, it's bringing us under one roof where we can actually collaborate. And I'm excited that the office is established. We've now worked very closely with CAF, helping the teams that are in the Confed, in the Champions League to really prepare now and to make sure that they have the funding that's needed to be able to operate at the highest level. And then now we're going out and really looking at galvanizing the membership and getting sponsors and actually building our membership to make sure now that we can really service clubs. We've done a lot of introduction of what the ACA is to the likes of COSAFA and the various regions, and also speaking to various leagues around how we can work with them. You'll see that we'll have some workshops to understand the challenges of the different regions and to also see what benefits we can bring to the various regions and the various clubs and leagues with the unique challenges that they have amongst themselves. So the work has started now, and that's exciting for me, you know. And thank you to CAF for their support, their funding. We'll be signing and working on an MOU with FIFA to collaborate with them as well. And then going out there and trying to find funding and resources to further really uplift African football and African club football. Because at the end of the day, clubs are the foundation
100%.
of the game. A lot of people forget that, and I think also the structures are very different in other areas where maybe clubs are government owned. And I think South Africa as a league is an example, and also you look at the leagues in North Africa are an example of how leagues can be independent, can thrive, can generate revenue. So a key part for me is how do we start helping, and how do I use my experience from Chiefs and the league to start building stronger leagues on the continent and to create viable clubs and viable leagues that actually can stand alone.
Is the African Football League part of the conversation? You know, we had it start, we had it come in, and it's also kind of like around the same time that ACA was sort of established, and I think it maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe interlinked to that as well, to assist clubs better, to work on the ranking system and whatever the case may be. But we've not heard anything since. Is there resistance? You know, are clubs reluctant, or it's a funding issue, it's a scheduling issue? Because, you know, coaches were also complaining that it's too many games. But at the same time, and I heard this from, you know, some of your counterparts in Europe, for instance, to say players want to get paid more, but when we bring in other forms of revenue, they say it's too many games. So how are we going to put more money in their pockets if we can't, you know, market the game better by adding more fixtures? And I, you know, I'm just, you know, I don't know if that's the best way to do it.
I think it's a lot of factors. You know, currently it's on hold. And again, I think it's building strong leagues first before you start having an elite league. And it didn't even work in Europe. So we need to look at why didn't it work in Europe. And it's a number of things. It's scheduling. It's definitely the scheduling. And I think you can see even recently, players are exhausted. They're playing a lot of games, you know. There's a lot of tournaments, a lot of competitions. You look at players who played in Club World Cup with the change now, they're exhausted. So we have to sit down and look at the calendar. We also need to look at, you can't create this elite league if you haven't looked at, strengthened the local leagues, you know. One of the questions I asked when it came up was, how is it going to affect the PSL? That's why it became a 1 month event rather than a league that's happening all the time, because initially it was going to be a league that was going to happen all the time. What happens to domestic leagues, which are very important as well? So there's a lot of questions around it. I think the more there was a pilot, we have to sit down and look at how that pilot worked and whether it's something that can be replicated again. But I think for us right now is to build the clubs and make sure they're sustainable, build the leagues, and have the right competitions that are in place.
Jess, we were still talking the work you've been doing with ACA and Hesi as well. You mentioned Toyota Cup experience as well.
Well, the Toyota Cup was important for us to show collaboration with African clubs. And the fact that, you know, a lot of African clubs maybe don't do big pre-season events. So it was nice for us to do that, and we played Young Africans. In its second year this year, we played Asante Kotoko from Ghana. So again, that's important for us to start promoting African clubs working together and engaging.
I want to blend the plane with the topic around leadership, as it were, and I think for the most part in this episode we've spoken about your trajectory as well, but there remains a lingering question around, and I think you are close to this because one, Chairman Kaizer Motaung is in the executive committee at the PSL, Ion Duke, Dr. Ivan Khoza as well, great leadership in leading the Premier Soccer League. A friend of mine sent me a newspaper clip on the year I was born, 1985, and it was Ntate Khoza, it was Ntate Motaung there as well. They were already steering the ship, leading it, trying to get to where the PSL is now, pre-1996. Yes. But constantly there are questions around what happens when they are no longer around, you know. Would there be a leadership vacuum? Is there a space that you also, maybe consciously or unconsciously, thinking you are also being prepared for as well? Given when your dad approaches you to say, come work for Kaizer Chiefs when you're doing your own thing, maybe in his mind, he's also thinking, one of my kids must take over, or whatever the case may be. And how do you see that conversation? We could even take it to SAFA level as well. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen. You and I had a conversation when we were in Rabat about the Kaizer Chiefs ladies team and the challenges in the Hollywood Bet Super League as well. So many great things within our football, but we can't be naive to the challenges as well. And I want to talk about just the way forward. I'm not saying they must go whatever. I'm just like in terms of talking about the next generation, so to speak. Where do you stand with that conversation?
Well, first of all, I'm fortunate. I've had the opportunity to work around great leadership and to be able to see the work done and be part of the board of governors at the league has been quite a privilege.
Yes,
to see
of course,
the chairman
32.
and them and the work that they've done prior to my being there. To being here now and being able to be part of the decisions and the debates around where our football is going. So that's exciting. So that experience, I think, has been invaluable and it's helped me in terms of even the work that I'm doing on the African continent. For me, I think it's important to blend youth and the next generation with the experienced leadership. And PSL tried to do it and has worked a bit in doing it. They've put together a marketing committee where some of us were part of it. There are some committees that have not been consistently operating, but certainly where the next generation have been part of that and giving input. I've been part of the competitions committee for some time now. But for me, I think what's important is that the next generation is groomed and the next level of leadership is advanced, while at the same time there is the great halo of the leaders who've actually paved the way for where football has gone, because otherwise it'd be lost if that doesn't happen. And at a SAFA level as well, I think it's critical that the leadership grows and evolves. Look, I think it's going to take time. There's still a lot of contribution that I think the chairman and all of them are making, but certainly they are trying to bring people in. You look at the work that Patrice is doing at CAF in terms of changing, bringing in new people, bringing in new leadership, and creating a sustainable legacy. It's a journey, and I think the chairman and them also will want to make sure that they bring in the right people. But certainly for me, I'm happy to serve and play the roles that I can play to make sure that we can grow the game and to give the experience that I have. And I think there's a generation that will not have the privilege that some of us have had, is to see the founders and the pioneers and to be part of those rooms.
Be mentored, yeah.
And to learn, because there's nothing like experience. You can read the books, but to see the negotiations happen and to see the debates and to see the decision, be part of the decision making is really inspiring. So if there's a role for me to play further, certainly happy to do it, particularly here at home. As much as the opportunity to serve internationally is appealing, but certainly to be able to move things forward here at home and make sure that South African football continues to grow is certainly something I would want to be part of.
So you're not too married to the idea of just doing CAF work, FIFA work. I mean, yes, we know the executive committee cycle every 4 years because the elections were just recently last year in November. But there's SAFA elections next year, so I don't know. Where's your headspace with that?
Look, my headspace is to, first of all, continue doing the work that I'm doing at the Board of Governors, representing, obviously, from a Chiefs point of view. That is something that I'll continue to do. My commitment as SAFA to serve, I've attended the SAFA NEC and meetings with as a representative of the PSL. So that's also given me
the non-existent liaison committee.
I haven't been to the liaison committee, but I've certainly attended the bigger, broader meeting as a representative with the PSL. So that's given me a lot of insights on how SAFA work and the work on women's football is something that I'm going to do quite extensively. And like I said, any opportunity to serve in the various spaces for me is something that I take very, very seriously. And also to support the leadership that's currently there. You know, how do
That's
we make
important,
sure that we support the leadership that's there? I mean, a lot of the time people want to come in and usurp. For me, is how do I support the people who are there to make sure that football continues to grow with the view that the next generation then are taking on a product that is viable, you know, rather than a lot of the times, you know, we're not political parties here. We're here to grow the game and not to just compete and build side platforms where we're fighting each other. I think what's come up even recently at the last sports conference I attended is that sport needs to unify. Sport needs to collaborate, and football, the strength of football was when it worked together and unified, and I would love to see a unified collaboration also between the PSL and the league. I think that would take South African football to the next level, you know, and if one can play a role in doing that, I would be very happy to do that.
Just thank you so much for your time. You're such an inspiration to all of us, and I'm sure the women in the game, women in sport, women in football. And as a parting shot, I just wanted to ask, how relieved were you to see Chiefs being affiliated to a women's team? I'm sure that you must have been like, whew, because in the various positions that you hold, you know, I would imagine, you know, there'd be looks like, but she's championing this movement, but her own club doesn't even have a women's team. And how, you know, how's that experience been, just as a parting shot?
Look, it's been great. You know, I've been part of it, and thanks to the guys and people like Lebu who've been in the women's game and understand it. But it's been a process, you know. And yes, people were kind of like, oh, but they didn't understand the work being done behind the scenes. And sometimes also, you know,
And the commercial aspect of it and all of it.
And you can't explain also what we're doing all the time. Tell people we're doing this, we're meeting with these people. You can't.
That
you
is,
know?
yeah.
It's a bit unfair. A lot of the times people just see what they see and they don't understand what's being done. So we've been
And sometimes we're at fault as media as well. We're like, but
yes,
we want you to release a statement every time about everything.
Yes.
Call a press conference about everything.
And
It's sometimes nice, but
we got to keep quiet sometimes and do the work. It's very much my philosophy is do the work, because once
Talk
you
is
do the work, we
cheap
can come
sometimes,
back. And you've seen Chiefs has come out with something to say, we have been working with the team for some time now, helping them. People didn't know that, you know, behind the scenes with an understanding. And also we had to be deliberate about who we're partnering with, why are we partnering with them? And look at Amakhosi has done some great work in the women's game, even to look at the women he's brought to the Banyana team, you know. So we had to say we have someone in the game who we also want to support and reward for what he's done. And what I'm excited about is us having now learned the space, having really grown in the space, and also just spending time watching young girls play the game has been wonderful for me. The girls won a wonderful game on my birthday, so I was like, girls, I love this. But it's been nice to go to the ground and watch them play. And I'm excited now for us to now get to launching at a fully fledged level and making sure that we now make a significant contribution. And I know it'll be great for the game. The Chiefs brand in the women's space can really bring more commercial interest, create a new platform for young girls who maybe didn't have a space, and also grow women's football, not just in South Africa, but on the continent. So the mission is much bigger than just, Chiefs must have a women's team to comply. It's again, how do we become a game changer? And contribute to the game evolving and giving young women a platform and allow them to have a pathway into Banyana and into the international space. So that's the passion, you know. And my passion for sport will always be there. And it's not just football. My passion for sport is for South African sport across the board, you know. I'm in horse racing, as you know, so I'm in that space, which I've also served in certain bodies there, but also just love being a horse owner. And also supporting sport where young women are involved in netball, supporting rugby and the growth of the rugby space. So you'll see that my work in the sporting space is going to grow even more, you know. And it's not even about titles and positions. It's about how sport changes society. I've had the privilege of seeing it firsthand, whether it's football, rugby, tennis. I've sat on the tennis board, and it's just wonderful to see how sport can change society, can change a country, can change people's lives. And I'm saying South Africans must really rally around how sport can change our country.
Well, that's a perfect way to end it. That 8 months long wait been worth it. This chair has never been this comfortable. It's behind the boot with your boy Super Geno, my guest Jessica Motaung. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Part one.
Part one.
Part one.
Hey, I didn't say it.
Part one. More to come. Thank you so much to Smash Sport. What an interview. Really appreciate being here. Like and subscribe. Khosi for life.